Hello, welcome everybody to this webinar by Tourism Review. This is one day ahead of the World Tourism Day on Saturday, 27th of September. So you're not making a mistake. It is not the Saturday, 27th of September yet. It's still Friday, 26th. We are gathering here with uh, members of the editorial board and senior members of the editorial board of Tourism Review to discuss things about tourism and the tourism future. And in a minute, we will be starting. I'm just the warm up act before Daisy and Gary take over and they say the real thing with our good friends on the panel. I'm just going to keep talking for a minute. I can see that we've got 132, 33 people coming in. I think we've got more than 350 people who have registered. Gary, you had the numbers early on?
Yes, we have about 350 something from 64 countries.
Okay. And there are more people are joining because they see that in the minute and they come forward. So we are going to start in about 5 minutes, and I don't think I'll be keep talking for 5 minutes. But I just want to say good morning from sunny Bournemouth. Apparently, it's sunny in Bournemouth and it's rainy in Tenerife. This is global warming for you. So come to Bournemouth, don't go to Tenerife. And we're just, I can see on the participant list some very familiar names and some good friends. I can see Bohan is there. I can see Duncan is there. I can see Alicia is there. Hello, Alicia, all the way from Jamaica. I can see Frederick there. I can see Hangi and Hassim. I can see there are people coming and the list is growing very fast, so I cannot see a lot of people. I can see you. I can see Lisa. I can see Magdalena. I can see Marianelle, Maria Louise. Oh, wonderful. A lot of friends are joining us. Nagajur, happy birthday to you. Guys, we need to sing happy birthday to Nagajur.
Wow.
It's his birthday today. Everybody knows. Panayota is there. Raza is there. There's a lot of nice friends. Tanya Mihalic. Hello, good morning in Slovenia. I can see Zilia in Portugal. We're truly, utterly international. And I can see some people waiting to get in. Okay, we've got 152 and they're coming in. I know this is the most wonderful system. We love this system forever, and especially those of us who are working on tourism and technology, like Professor Gary there. He is really very familiar with the usability of the system, but we are going to get there. Gary, would you like to defend the system?
Uh, yes and no.
No? Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Be careful what you say. Everything you say gives evidence. Everything's recorded, right? Okay. The time is
Okay, Dimitris, I
9:07.
want to keep you talking, so we have prepared some slides for you to talk about our journal. Is that fine for you?
Yes, please start. I'm just gonna start talking serious at 9:10. Okay. Until then, I'll be
Oh, okay.
welcoming people. You can show. I can see Kamompa there. I can see Kurt. 9:10. I'll do the. It's called
Okay.
the academic quarter. We have it in several countries when people are preparing their coffee and they're running, or they just. I can see Grace. I can see Ellen. I can see Faye. That's we're 160 and we're growing. We're growing. We're growing. In the meanwhile, Daisy, I think what you should do is you should project the slide so we make sure that the system behaves. When
Sure.
we have I can see Athena there. I can see Azam, Bahram. Hello. I can see Alejandro, Andra. That's a lot of very good friends. Natalie, if you'd like to say something, Natalie, can you please put that on the chat? Our colleagues will be looking at that. At this stage, we are not opening the conversation to a lot of people. I can see the slide. So we're doing fairly good.
Good. But when I'm like presenting the slides, I cannot see my like a screen for all you guys. So if you cannot see me or there's any like IT issues, just give me a shout, okay? I cannot see your photos.
Daisy, there is a little bar that you are pulling, and then
Yeah.
I think you can see both of them now. And now I can see both of you.
Oh,
Just there's a little
let me
bar that's
see.
hidden. It's just under the pictures.
Under the pictures.
Sandra has found it. I can see that.
Mm. Little
It's
bar.
two
On
lines.
top or
It's under the photographs of the panelists.
okay. Yeah. And in which box?
And it's two lines on a little green box, and you pull that down, and then that starts. Okay,
Sorry,
let's start. Time is 10 minutes past 9 in the UK. William is back here. Stay with us, William. We need you here. Okay. William is the technical wizard. He knows everything, how to do these things, and he can do things. So, official good morning to you all from me, Dimitris Buhalis. I'm the editor-in-chief of Tourism Review. And we gather today to celebrate the World Tourism Day. It is officially it's tomorrow, on Saturday, 27th of September. But we thought that many of you will have other plans over the weekend, so we kind of do it a day before because we are ahead of time always, and we're looking into doing wonderful things. I've got a fantastic panel here from senior associate editors of Tourism Review, and I'll be helped by Daisy Fan, who recently joined Hong Kong Polytechnic University, just left me from Bournemouth, and I regret that. And then we'll have Professor Gary Tan Wei Han, all the way from Malaysia, helping us. And thank you to Gary for setting this up with William and the entire Emerald team. And also thank you to Cheche Leong, that she's hopefully sleeping at this time. It's 3 o'clock in the morning in the US. But she was absolutely instrumental in putting everything together and preparing for us to do that. And now on the panelists, we've got Gangua Chen from China. We've got Fei Fei Zhu, also from China, from Nanjing. We've got Eduardo Parra Lopez from rainy Tenerife. And we've got Sandra Loureiro from sunny Lisbon in Portugal, right? So this is some of our associate editors. The way we run these seminars is that we're trying to do sometime Asia, Australia friendly times, and we're going that way. And then sometimes we're doing US, Europe friendly times. So this time we're just more Asia focused, and on that time zone. It's really difficult to do everything together. So I'm just gonna go through very quickly through a presentation that some of you would have seen for the Tourism Review. Daisy is going to control me, and she's about to make this slide look bigger. And I hope everybody can see this slide.
Is that looking fine?
It is looking fine for me, yes?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and I can see all your reactions, so I really enjoy your reactions. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya. Mark Andriani, Wu, and all the friends. So that's wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. So, opening remarks, welcome. I think you feel welcome by now. Introduction of panelists, I think I've done that. Moderate discussion. I think there's one point missing there, which is the little presentation of tourism review. Daisy, let's go to the next slide. So tourism review, as all of you know, is now 80 years of age. So we are on volume 80. We have each year, it's a volume for us. It's not like the Emerald journals that they are doing each issue, they call it a volume. So you find some journals that they're going to 150 volume, but in fact they are not. They are just calling different volumes, issues as volumes. So we're very proud of what we've achieved, especially since 2017. The journal has grown dramatically. We now have an impact factor of 7.9, and we're progressing dramatically through the league tables and the different lists of we're doing. But more importantly, much more important than the list and the different uh, um, citation counting. It's the journal is producing so much good content that is progressing the discussion on tourism research globally, and that's, I think, it's a major advantage for all of us and part of the community. And you're part of the community, and it shows we have got 200 participants right now. And it's wonderful to see all of you committing the time to be here. Next slide. So the journal is very lucky because it can produce a whole range of different topics. So we cover everything in tourism, and we are in a position to actually cluster papers together. So each of the issues that's coming out, it is coming out as a clustered issue, as a themed issue, and has got different areas that we are discussing. So everything that's coming through, it's quite good, and we can discuss it. Let's go to the next slide. So you can see the numbers. The citation index has gone to 18. The citation track is 13.8, if I can read the numbers. So you can see all this information that is up on the website of the journal, and can see all the developments that we've got. Next slide. Bah, I cannot read that, but I think it says ranked seventh by 2024 for impact factor. So we are we are very good. We are competing with all the other journals, but we also collaborate very closely with all the other journals. So it's a fantastic time in tourism because all the editors were quite friends, and we collaborate. We make sure that what we do is advancing the tourism area and the research, and we make sure that we fight unethical behavior. We make sure that we engage only on good practice, and we help each other. Of course, we are publishing on each other's journals, so we are all kind of friends, and we are in all different editorial boards. But it pleases me no end. The tourism review has gone up on the impact factors, and now getting the recognition that deserves as one of the top journals in tourism. Let's go to the next one. So this is the reports that they're supposed to be confidential, but since I took over the journal, I'm publishing them so everybody can see exactly what's going on, and you can see how the downloads are increasing. And downloads are very important for us because if people are downloading the articles, then they can read the articles. So the impact of the journal is based on how many people are reading the paper. So I hope that all of you are reading the papers, and I hope all of you are suggesting the papers that we publish in Tourism Review to your students. especially with a new academic year. I think it's really important that you look into the latest content that's on Tourism Review. We've got a much better website now, which is much more focused, and you can see a lot of things. So you can encourage your students to download and read the content. Give them specific articles that they can help your teaching, and of course all the articles are cutting edge because they're the latest year 2025, 2024, and those articles are giving you the latest information. Let's go to the next one. So you can see that, of course, China is one of the most prolific countries, partly because of the population of China, and partly because the academics there are very incentivized to write a lot of things. Then you've got the United States, the United Kingdom, you've got Australia, Malaysia. Malaysia is doing very well. I think Gary is doing a fantastic job in promoting the journal in Malaysia. Indonesia is doing very well. Turkey, US, Germany, Thailand, and India. These are the top areas. Hong Kong Polytechnic University predictably is targeting the journal before Daisy arrived. Daisy just arrived, but colleagues from there, because I've spent a year there, and I'm working with many colleagues. A lot of people from the University of Technology, Mara, Griffith University, Macau, University of Science and Technology, Bournemouth University, University of Surrey, Macau University of Tourism. So these are some of the universities that they are targeting the journal more, and they've got downloads from there. So you can see where people are reading from the journal. So let's go to the next slide. And you can see how we're counting the impact factor and how it's growing gradually as the content is improving, as more people are reading in the journal, inside the journal, the impact factor is going up. And the next slide. Again, you can see the authorship and you can see the top authors. Unfortunately, my good friend and collaborator Alistair Morrison passed away recently, so we lost a very good colleague in there. You can see Sichuan University in particular, and I had a very beautiful letter from Sichuan University telling me that they really treasure Tourism Review, and their dean there is advocating Tourism Review. So we've got a lot of people who are supporting and submit papers. Within International Studies University, I think we call it BIZU, Hong Kong PolyU, the University of Central Florida in the US, and Nankai University in China. So let's go to the next slide. And these are the top organizations by submissions and the top organizations by accepted papers. This is a very interesting list because you can see who is targeting the journal, but also I think it's an opportunity to tell people that we now going to have more than 1,500 papers submitted in Tourism Review this year. So myself, Daisy, and Tete, we're spending awfully a lot of time going through the reviews and trying to see what is it good enough to go out for reviewing and what is not. We find a lot of papers that are coming, especially from Asia, that they're half cooked. They're just, people are taking their chance. They are submitting something to see if this will be good enough to publication. That's a very good way of get desk rejected. Okay, so send us your best papers. Unfortunately, we desk reject about 70 to 75% of the papers we receive. And we've got to do that because there are so many papers that are coming, and we only publish 100 papers per year. So we need to be very selective. So make sure that before you submit, it's really well done, it's really well developed, and it's really your top research. And the next slide.
Good.
So that is the end of my thing. So I'm going to leave to Daisy and Gary to coordinate with our panelists, and we take it from there. Thank you very much for coming along. I think at this stage, we've got 200. Let me take a little a little picture of this because I quite like the number. So at this stage, we've got 212 people. That's a wonderful number to have. Oh, we dropped two. Okay, please come back. 211. I'd like 212. Yeah, that's a nice round number. My mathematician in me likes round numbers. So over to you, Daisy and Gary. I'll be on the background.
Okay, thank you, Dimitris, for this nice introduction and this very warm opening. I think now we come to the panel. Today, we have now our four lovely panelists, and we also have three excellent moderators for this section. We know Dimitris Buhalis, and he's also the editor-in-chief for Tourism Review. I'm Daisy Pham, associate editor. I saw we have a Gary Tan, also he's the assistant editor for Tourism Review. So we are going to host this section with four panelists. I'm sure you are familiar with most of them, but please still allow me some time to introduce them one by one before they get into their own sections, okay? So our first panelist is Professor Ganghua Chen. So he's a full professor in the School of Tourism Management, Sun Yat-sen University. His research interests include tourism behavior, destination marketing, destination governance, tourism entrepreneurship. He has published widely on tourism behaviors, social identity, mental health, and tourism governance issues in leading tourism journals, including ATR, JOST, JTR, and TM. Currently, he serves as the associate editor of Tourism Review, Tourism Planning and Development, and Tourism Forum, and sits on the editorial board of many leading journals. He is now a fellow of the International Association for China Tourism Studies. Our second panelist is Professor Eduardo Parra Lopez. He is a full professor of business organization at the University of La Laguna, Spain. With nearly 3 decades of academic experiences, his research focuses on tourism innovation, digital transformation, smart and cognitive destinations, and sustainability transitions. He has published widely in leading tourism and management journals, served as reviewers and editors for major international outlets, and regularly contributes to policy dialogues at industry innovation forums in Europe and Latin America. Eduardo is also engaged in fostering regenerative and culturally grounded tourism development, bridging academic insights with practical strategies for destinations and organizations worldwide. Our next panelist is Professor Sandra Lorenzo, is leading research in tourism and marketing, ranked among the world's top 100 scientists by Stanford University and 21st among marketing and tourism researchers. He has authored around 300 publications, including journal articles, conference papers, and books. Her research focuses on consumer brands relationship, brand coolness, tourism marketing, and immersive technologies. Her work appears in top journals such as the Journal of Marketing and Tourism Management and is regularly presented at major conferences, including EMAC and ASMAC. Sandra also reviews and serves on the editorial board of international journals and has participated in several EU-funded research projects. Our last panelist is Professor Feifei Xu. She is a professor and director of the Center for Ecotourism and Regional Development in the School of Architecture at Southeast University, China. Her research interests include tourism in protected area and sustainable tourism. She has been a principal investigator for many research projects with funding from the British Academy, World Animal Protection, Chinese National Nature Science Foundation, and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of China. Professor Xu has maintained a productive research agenda with over 100 peer-reviewed papers and 4 books. She is a member of several standing committees, including Chinese Association of Tourist Geography. Okay, so after the very brief introduction, maybe we can invite our panelists to give a very brief introduction or any discussion on their own topic. It should be around 5 minutes for each person. Shall we start from Professor Ganghua Chen?
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, all my dear friends and colleagues. Today, I'm very glad to be here to share with you some of my recent thinking. So, is there going to be a slide, Daisy?
Yeah, next.
I can see my flat. No, just the first one. Thank you. I have only two.
Okay, this
I
one.
only have two
Yes.
slides.
Yeah.
Please focus on the first one. The first
Okay.
one, the first page.
Is that is that now on the first page?
Oh, I can
With
only
a
see the
picture?
yeah, this one is good. This one is yes.
Ah,
The first okay, thank you. I will go ahead. Thank you. So I will focus on tourism's contribution to mental health and well-being. When we talk about health, we often think about physical health first, right? But as the World Health Organization reminds us, there is no health without mental health. So today I want to share how tourism can play a critical role in supporting mental health and well-being, which is also in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. Number three, good health and well-being. First, mental health is not only about the absence of illness, it also means having positive well-being. In our recent studies, we look at mental health and well-being as a continuum. It ranges from mental disorders and psychological distress to positive psychological outcomes. From the research perspective, we can also see a growing number of publications, a growing interdisciplinary interest. First, psychology, especially positive psychology, has been popular, very popular in tourism studies these days. Most research draws on two traditions, the hedonia and eudaimonia. Medicine as a scientific discipline has also entered into our recent discussion. Health experts are now exploring tourism as a non-pharmacological intervention. Some scientists even propose the idea of tourism therapy or travel therapy, which means travel as a therapy. It suggests that positive travel experiences can improve both physical and psychological health. But this application of medicine to tourism is still at its very early stage. So when we look at research subjects, most studies still focus on tourists. For people with mental health conditions, tourism, travel, the travel experience brings both opportunities and risks. Travel may offer meaningful experiences, but it can also worsen symptoms. For the general tourist generation, for the tourist groups, positive experiences often come from sensory uh, enjoyment or friendly interactions with local people, with tourism practitioners. Uh, and deeper tourism experience, the host and guest interactions can even lead to self-awareness, meanings, and realization, self-realization. But tourism is not always positive. Tourists may also feel distress, for example, disgust, fear, regret, or even frustration, especially when they face unfair treatment. By contrast, research on residents and workers is still limited. For residents, the main focus is on subjective well-being and quality of life. Tourism also changes how locals interact with their own space, sometimes leading to negative effects on mental health. For tourism workers, for those working in this industry, most studies examine hotel employees. Their mental health is shaped by stressful environments, irregular working hours, and job insecurity, especially during crises such as the pandemics. Some research has also been done to look at their coping strategies. In line with the SDG 3, I would like to share some ideas on how tourism can play a stronger role in supporting mental health and well-being of the stakeholders, such as tourists, residents, and people working in the tourism industry. So please move on to the next slide. Thank you. The next slide. As you can see from this slide, there are 4 future directions that we can find opportunities to explore for both academics and practitioners in this field. So the first direction is tourism as therapy. We need more empirical studies that use medical theories and medical methods to understand the therapeutic effects of travel. Tourism therapy can connect the 2 disciplines, which are tourism research and medical science, and it can also connect 2 practical fields, the tourism industry and the healthcare sector. So I believe over time in the future, this can help the tourism sector be more recognized as a real option in mental health care. Our research can be trusted by those healthcare practitioners. The second direction is to apply positive psychology to the design of tourism experiences. Tourism products, as we know them, can be designed to foster emotions, to help tourists, to help residents to have more uh, uh, positive emotions, for example, the gratitude or resilience. So we need more empirical research into how these interventions can really affect mental health and well-being. We are still in a very early stage. The third one is about residents. Their mental health has often been overlooked actually in practice and in research. So future research should not only focus on livelihood and infrastructure, which we have done a very good job, but in the future, we also need to focus more on the positive experiences and meaning making in host communities. This is very essential if we want the tourism development to truly serve the SDG 3. The fourth one and the last one is we really need to recognize the distinctiveness of tourism practitioners, their their mental health and well-being. Their mental health deserve more attention, and we needed to go beyond hospitality employees. Actually, we have a broader scope, a broader group of tourism practitioners, not just hospitality employees. We needed to identify what shapes their well-being, and from working conditions to stress factors, so that in the future, from a management perspective, the talent management practices can be done, can better support their mental health and well-being. So in short, tourism and well-being should be studied all together uh, across tourists, residents, and workers. I believe by integrating tourism with positive psychology and medical science, we can make tourism a stronger contributor to sustainable development and global well-being. Oh, that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganghua. Thanks for this wonderful research direction provided regarding the mental health well-being in these future research areas. Our very next panelist, can I invite Ariadne to share your points, like your research directions or anything you want to share about your research area, please?
Hello, Daisy, and thank you very much to all of the panelists, and of course to Dimitrios for this brilliant idea to share with the community of tourist review and all of the academic in the world. So when you translate to me, the possibility to collaborate in the seminar, I was thinking about to translate the idea of Latin American countries that I translate to you before. The necessity to have to emphasize, the digitalization and innovation and sustainability that are not isolated process, but it's deeply interconnected with the different dimension of tourist transformation in terms of that. In practice, this means the destination and organization in this country should adopt integrated framework. For example, combining different data, intelligence with community. The community there in this country is really important, but we must to have intent of research and a view for others to design different strategies in order to have beyond short-term competitiveness for these countries. Translating research into practice requires to have more tools and indicators in these countries. So that's why needs to have more research to measure not only economic performance in different parts of the world, but this in these Latin countries, but also social inclusion, cultural identity, and environmental regeneration for these countries is necessary to have. So it's necessary to open this research line in this country with different strategy in terms of to have living lab, observatories, or practical mechanisms to enable stakeholders to test research inside this and adapt them to local context and institutionalize, them part of the destination management. Another thing that I want to share with you in terms of that is the future for them. Uh, I think the sustainability and the innovation and digitalization, that's not only the first countries, is need to have goals to continuous process of transformation. So that's why it's necessary to have a regeneration of tourism, positioning tourism in these countries, in to have a systematic transition and to give them the opportunity to be more impact and to be more better in terms of competitiveness, to have a balance between different strategies. After to work in journals like Tourist Review and looking and review different papers and reading different terms, probably we have a growing momentum to around the regenerative tourism. So when we talk about the regenerative tourism, we must to learn about these countries and the impact of social and digital sustainability and resilience of these countries. So we need to follow, for example, the Professor Wang Ham Chen that shared before, the necessity to have analyze, the mental model of them and the necessary to have a stakeholder engagement with them. How, for example, the artificial intelligence and big data support the sustainable decision making in these countries. Probably we must to analyze the artificial intelligence with identity in these countries totally different of the artificial intelligence that we have in, for example, in Europe, USA, or Asia. Probably they need to have another position, another view of the artificial intelligence, and that giving probably more social justice dimension of the sustainability, and probably cultural sustainability, and probably scaling up micro level sustainable practice for systematic change. Necessary to have that. That's I want to share. Probably we have another view, probably more open view of the research, giving them more solution, and probably we must to share different research, compare this country with the Asia, compare Europe, and that's also Daisy, that I want to share at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Eduardo, and thanks for these great ideas about digitalization and also transforming this, intergenerated tourism destinations, and also let us know more about the Latin American countries and how the research is going on in their areas. So thanks a lot. Okay, our third panelist, can I invite Sandra to share a little bit about her research, please?
Well, in this case, in Lisbon, good morning to all the elements of the panel. Thank you for Professor Dimitrios who invite me and also to be in this in very interesting panel. Well, from my side, I'm very devoted to integrate the so-called new technologies like artificial intelligence, but also XR, virtual and augmented reality, extended reality, uh, into this context of sustainability. And one of the phenomena that you are observing in Lisbon, but also in other cities in Europe, is what you can say the over tourism. And why I'm talking about over tourism? Because from one side, we are very warm to receive people from different countries in the world. We enjoy to receive them. But for another side, they are creating some issues in the population that are living, for instance, in Lisbon. And I'm talking about Lisbon because I'm working here and living here, but also in other places in Portugal, and as I said, in other cities in Europe. So, what can we do? What can we do in order to keep having the tourists? You want them to receive them with warmth, but at the same time, don't cause damage in the local population. That you can also somehow be connected to what you hear here before, some health also issues in the other population, and also regarding the sustainability, in a way we can consider reduced waste, to try to control the water and also the whole environment. So the idea, and I'm included in some European projects that are starting to do that. The idea is try to understand how that the so-called new technology could contribute to this situation in a good way. One point that you are starting to understand is try to track the tourists and try to communicate them. There are other museums, there are other festivals, there are other heritage that they could also visit, and not coming all the time to the same places, to the same museums. So this is important to try to redistribute the tourists. They have more space than stay hours and hours just to visit a museum or an heritage. So they could have more space to know better other places in Lisbon or in other cities. And at the same time, you don't have that overcrowding all the time in exactly the same streets, exactly the same places. This is what I'm very committed in these days in terms of tourism and sustainability. Of course, the big data, as Professor Eduardo said, is quite important to have, to analyze. But from my side, I'm also very concerned with the relationship and understand further how can this be done with the relationship between the humans, the tourists, the inland inhabitants, and the new machines like chatbots, but other robots that we are seeing more and more often in the cities. And because, at least in Lisbon, you are also facing some issues, do not have enough human beings to serve the tourists, you need to incorporate robots with more or less artificial intelligence gradually. So my concern is also how this this interaction between humans, that could be frontline employees, other employees from, for instance, inside an hotel, or humans, tourists, are interacting with this kind of machines with more or less artificial intelligence. That's why, if you can move on, please, to the next slide. Okay, thank you. There are a couple of concepts that I really recommend to go further to understand this kind of interaction. For instance, of course, engagement, but also another concept that I'm vividly using more and more because it's so complex and have so many dimensions. And you can say the cool factor, but also other concepts that are more connected with the attachment, with the avoidance, with the quality of the relationship, because there's some tourists that really enjoy to interact with this kind of machines with artificial intelligence, but you know also that others do not like. So it's important to understand how this can be done in a good way, not only for promoting sustainability and well-being for inhabitants, but also they could interact among humans and non-humans in the best way as possible. And this is what I recommend, as I said in the slide, to enhance sustainability in the tourism context. Thank you so much, and I'll wait for the questions in the panel.
Okay. Thank you, Sandra, and thanks for these valuable insights talking about the AI and how this can help us to like mitigate some like social or the environmental impacts from tourism, while meanwhile maintaining a good experience for tourists. And I think tourism review kept her very busy because there's a lot of submissions talking about AI these days, and we can maybe talk about this later on. But thank you. Our last panelist, Professor Feifei Xu, your turn, please.
Oh, thank you, Daisy. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, all over the world. Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here to share with you some of my research. I come from Southeast University. I have a background of tourism geographies. So a lot of my research has been focusing on tourist pro-environmental behavior. We look at particularly tourist behavior in national parks and protected areas, wildlife tourists. And we also particularly looked at environmental ethics, how environmental ethics could influence how we see nature and how we behave in natural areas. We used a lot of well-used models like VBN, TPB, etc., and looking at how different factors could influence our behavior. So that's one particular area of my research. And I also looked at the green transformation of tourism. For example, in a recent research, we're looking at how tourism-related companies and tourism organizations can make their green transformation, because a lot of research talking about what factors drives the successful transformation. But I think it's also important to look at the constraints, what factors actually kind of stop us or take us behind from making this transformation to a more greener industry. So that's one particular project we're looking on. Another area I've been looking at like digital tourism with particular focus on Airbnb and gamification. And with the Airbnb, we look at a lot of special and temporary changes of the location of Airbnb and how they advertise it, the kind of the reviews. We look at how big data can contribute analyzing the reviews. And we also look at like gamification, game-based marketing, how that could help destinations leading to less popular areas and things like that. Recently, we also look at like metaverse and what is the conceptual development of metaverse and how tourists perceive and acknowledge and will behave in the metaverse. So basically, this is my research area broadly. If you could go to the next slide, please, Daisy. I think for the future directions and opportunities, because my research is focused quite a lot on pro-environmental behavior, I think it's very important we linking behavior and well-being. Just as Ganghua has mentioned, well-being is very important. It contributes to the Sustainable Development Goals for the number 3 in terms of well-being, right? For example, we know that when we help somebody, psychologically, we feel happier. But if we help the environment, we can feel the same thing. So I'm thinking in the future, we can actually linking like pro-environmental behavior with well-being. We're looking at how positive emotions, because I'm particularly looking at a human-nature relationship. So particularly, we're looking at how the emotions like owl, a nature connection, and in terms of nature recognition and positive emotions, how that will have actually linking with the pro-environmental behavior, particularly in protected areas and nature areas. Another thing we are looking at is the digital influence on pro-environmental behavior. For example, we look at the digital interpretation, how the digital messages, the videos, even the videos generated by AI, that could influence how we see the nature, how we behave in the nature. So this is a kind of area I'm currently exploring as well. Another thing I think which is quite important is within my area of pro-environmental behavior, a lot of studies are actually using a self-reported questionnaire. And we do know that there is a well-known behavior intention gap. A lot of studies are actually mentioning or measuring behavior intention rather than the actual behavior. And because of the intention behavior gap, I think it's important how we measure actual behavior. And also, I noticed there are a lot of new research directions using psychological and physiological experiments, looking at using ECG, EEG, and eye tracking machines, and to measure how we respond, particularly in natural areas. I think this is the important way of doing that, because traditionally, we use a lot of self-reported report, as I mentioned. I think there's a lot of limitations in that sort of measurement. So if we can combine and using new technologies and using a more physiological measurement, I think this is more interesting and probably reflects more exciting and real reactions and how we measure in terms of behavior. So basically, this is my area of research and what I'm looking for at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Fei. Thanks all our panelists for the valuable sharings on their own research area. Our next section is about the panel discussion, of course, including Demetrius and Gary. Please feel free to join. We have prepared 4 general questions for our panelists to consider, maybe to provide some insights for our audience online regarding the future studies and maybe how to transforming our research to direction of sustainability.
Before you go there, can I put you and Gary on the spot as well? Because you both are doing fantastic research, and some of it appears on Tourism Review, but some of it appears in other journals. So can I ask Gary and yourself first, Gary, so you've got a minute to prepare to talk about your research areas and what you are researching right now, because this is very relevant to what we do in Tourism Review.
Sure. Can I answer now? Okay. So I'm currently doing lots of research related to the usage of technology, especially in tourism. So, for example, we look into how AI is transforming tourism. Yeah, we are also looking into things like metaverse. Okay, how metaverse is impacting tourism, even in hospitality, in terms of the behavior of tourists, and also things like service robots, how it's transforming the tourism industry.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Gary. Maybe I can also share some of my current research areas. Broadly, it's about social sustainability. Well, previously, my research focus is around social contact. For example, how the tourists and residents interact with each other and how it's influencing, for example, residents' well-being and also tourist experiences. Well, currently, it's still related to social contact, but I'm more interested in the active aging area. For example, how the social bit could contribute to the like older adults' well-being, and also any kind of tourist and all what kind of experiences those older adults may enjoy. Also broadly about maybe smart destination. So that's broadly within the social sustainabilities area. Yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
that's
That's very good. And one more point before we open to questions, I'll because Duncan remind me the the word over tourism really boils my blood pressure. There is not such a thing as over tourism. There is concentration on a lot of people in particular areas at particular times, and that is due to bad management strategy, marketing, planning. So we really need, and I agree with Sandra that we really need to use technology to understand what's happening in each destination, what impact that will have, and how we can really improve the impacts of the tourism activity, and how we can optimize and ameliorate the tourism activity. But quite often I hear people, especially journalists, talking about over tourism as something it's really bad and we need immediately to go to the growth. And for those of you who have been following me, there are few things that they can increase my blood pressure. This is one of them, because it's really an oversimplification of what's happening in locations, and we need to understand concentration per minute, per square meter, and we need to see how we can do these things. And smart technology can actually help us with that. So just with these things, over to you and Daisy and Gary to open discussion.
Yeah, sure. I think just based on that, this is also very relevant for our question one. So, how can your research insights be translated into the practice to support destinations or organizations in achieving sustainable transformation? Maybe our panelists can relate to your own research area, maybe how this could be transformed to that sustainable, maybe SDGs or some areas. Any
And
volunteers,
and
please?
and, and before you
Yeah.
go into the panelists again, let's invite everybody from the 228 people who are currently on the call to write questions or answer these questions on the chat so we can coordinate. So everybody,
Yeah.
please use the chat to interact. Thank you.
That's a good idea. Yeah. So any volunteers? I may need to minimize my sharing. Sorry for this.
Maybe can I say something?
Please, Sandra.
Yeah. Exactly. Try to say to the destinations how they can reorganizing the tours of the tourists to find other attractions, not only the same attraction, the same museums, to uh, enhance the well-being of the tourists, not being all of them in the same place, causing some damage in those places, and redirecting for other attractions, because each city, like Lisbon, have a lot of different places, interesting places to visit. to know better, to understand better. So, knowing what is happening in a city like Lisbon and communicating with those in charge of the city, it's possible to organize those visits of the tourists to other places, not always the same places, at the same time, and of course, contribute in the end to the quality of life and well-being of both tourists and inhabitants of the city. And of course, artificial intelligence could help in this process. That's one point that could be quite important to do also in other places.
Sandra, from a planning point of view, there are two approaches to that. One is the one that you're discussing, which is perfectly valid, which is the dispersity of tourists in different regions, so you don't have concentration in one place. There's another strategy that we zone the place. We keep this place primarily for tourists, and we provide so much more resources in there to manage that. So we don't really spread the problems in a lot of different areas. So, for example, if you've got an area that has got a very high concentration of tourists, you may provide, I don't know, much better transportation. You may provide more toilets. You may provide more policing. You may provide more ambulance. You may provide more facilities and make that zone a primarily a zone that is really addressing these needs. And I'm not saying that which one you need to do, but I think in each destination we really need to understand what's going on, and also we need to understand the timing as well. So there'll be people in a particular place because there's a festival or because of seasonality or whatever, and it is the problem at this particular time. Quite often, it's associated with things like music festivals, concerts, football games, and things like that. When 50, 60,000 people are going to a stadium or something, and then what you need to do is you need to engage, but you need to use all the kind of technologies in a very smart way to provide for these people. So there are many different strategies. One is dispersing tourists across the different regions, but also the another one is really focus on the region and see what you do there. Because quite often in many countries and many governments around the world, they ask me, how can we take the tourists away from where they go to somewhere else? I said, first of all, stop talking about the same places all the time. Second, make sure that would people like to go to another place? Uh, they're not going to go to a place unless there's something interesting to see. There are resources there and all the rest of it. So it's really a complicated kind of way of strategic management, marketing planning to manage those things. Yeah. So you can get Eduardo and yeah,
Okay, thank
I
you.
can
Thank
predict.
you. Thank you, Dimitrios, and thank you, uh, Sandra. Okay, in terms of how we research inside, when I told before, the necessity to open the view for others, my idea is to one of the things that we discussed, Dimitrios, a long time ago about the necessity to open, the journals in terms of tourism review to open the journal to Latin American countries. Why? Because the Latin American countries are a big continent of different countries and different ideas and different possibility to research. So it's necessary to integrate, the framework. So we are discussing about always about the digitalization, metaverse, big data, artificial intelligence, blah blah blah. But how we integrate all of these solution of our research in terms of that. One of the things that when I start to do when I was the co-editor in other journals was to include in the conclusion of the paper about the social conclusion, social implication of our research. So it's necessary that all of the researchers think about that. So we must to give the society more social different strategy to apply that. if we want to, for example, in Latin American countries where I stay all of the summer, working in different projects and working with different people. So most of them talk about the necessity about the cultural identity. So how the intelligence, the smart technology, how the smart technology can work with the identity, cultural identity. So they say that they don't have artificial intelligence when you search inside ChatGPT, for example, different thing about the culture in these countries. The final result is totally different about the culture, so it's terrible when you try that. So it's necessary to work about that and to research how the artificial intelligence that give a solution about the identity of these countries. So it's necessary to work in that. So giving tools and giving indicators that's how we can work. If we think about the future of the destination of that, we must to work the capacity of them, the capacity of others in terms of adapt for this solution, um, the necessity to have more participate governance and the community. We must to put at the beginning of the seminar, Professor Chen talked about the mental models and the health of people. So it's necessary to put the person in the middle of our research, the human innovation about that, how the human innovation can help the tourism regeneration, da 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 da. So that's I want to share with you about the necessity to open our research to others. Others mean in my case, talk about the Latin American countries.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. Any other panelists wants to supplement on this topic?
Daisy, can I say something as well?
Please.
Yes, I think this is a very interesting and very important question. I think for all our research, before what we are doing, I think we need to ask ourselves, what is the important theoretical contribution, potential contribution for our paper, for our project, and what is the practical implication possible for our project? I think it's also very important to talk to policymakers, to the industry. So before you do your research, actually go out and meet them to find out what the actual questions are. Questions do not always come from theories, but also a lot of them come from a practical field, comes from the industry, comes from what they are concerning for policymakers. For example, in our research, we're doing like green transformation for the tourism industry. We talked to the policymakers and we talked to a lot of industry. We talked to the airlines, we talked to the hotels, travel agents, etc. And then we figured out what is actually facing the challenges for them. And we then dig out our research questions. So I think in terms of that, our questions can actually targeting both theory and practical implications. And also, I think when you finish your report, when you finish your research, it's important to share with a much broader audience. I mean, it's very good. We're publishing in journals. We're talking to academics. We're sharing, exchange ideas with academics. But it's also very important if our research can make a broader implication to the society, to a much wider community. So I think it's important we talk and share our research results with the possible stakeholders and with policymakers, with the industry, ask for their opinion, ask for their advices, and even we use social media to broadcast, to share our ideas with much broader audience to let people know. Because in terms of our research, we're talking about pro-environmental behavior and adapting to climate change, right? And this kind of idea is important. Every people make effort, like Tesco's in England always say, every little helps. So I think it's important that everyone makes an effort. Therefore, it's very important if everyone can hear our voices. So that's my opinion on this one. Thank you.
Absolutely. And what's very interesting, Feifei, is how do we learn on a global basis? What do we learn from Spain that can be transformed in China, and what we learn from China that can transform in Portugal? And I think, and this is something that we're looking into tourism review, that whatever we publish needs to be needs to have global application.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Daisy, there's Romeo who would like to speak. I'm not sure if we can have people speaking or just writing on the chat.
Not quite sure. Gary, can we let him in,
Mhm.
or he can type?
Yeah, I think it's only possible for typing, not possible
Okay.
for voice.
Hmm.
Can we try, Romeo? Can you try to open your microphone and speak? Let's
One
try
moment.
this. We haven't done this before.
One moment. Let me try to
Or
turn on the.
William can help with this.
Yes, let me try to turn on the audio for the participants. One moment. Um, where is the
Because it will be
participants?
wonderful to speak to some of our participants. We've got so many people, and it will be fantastic to actually have a conversation.
Yeah, I agree. So who likes to actually speak? Allow everybody to
Romeo,
unmute. Oh,
Alinea.
yes. All participants, you are allowed to unmute yourself if available, but I will be muting you if you are not the person speaking.
Okay. Romeo, can you try to speak now, please? We don't. Okay. That's fine.
Mm.
Okay. We can go to your next question, Daisy.
Okay.
Guys,
Sure.
ideally, if you can put questions on the chat, that will be easier for all of us to coordinate, because we are quite a lot on the call.
I think there's already quite a lot of questions in the chat box, but shall we take them all together or one by one? Shall we finish the questions first?
Let's take some questions from the audience, and then we can go back to our questions, because we've got
Okay.
45 minutes, right?
Okay, Gary, maybe you can select some questions in the chat. I think this is quite a lot, isn't it?
For some reason, I cannot see them.
Not
Can
that
I see
one.
them?
The question box.
Right. Okay. Okay. I was pressing the wrong thing.
Thanks there.
I probably only see one question at the moment.
Okay, I can see the one from Angelo Ramillo, who says, with the rise of digital platforms and AI, how is technology reshaping the way people experience tourism, and what opportunity or risk does this bring? So I think this is a Sandra question, isn't it? With the rise of digital platforms and AI, how is technology reshaping the way people experience tourism, and what opportunities or risk does this bring? Sandra, you'd like to take this?
I can start. What can I say? It's any technology, any new platform have both risks and benefits. That's the main point. And of course, the idea is to try to see what can benefit, in this case, the human beings. If from one side, for instance, artificial intelligence, you can say you can replace some jobs, but for other side, we're facing some problems without enough number of employees for the tourism field. So it depends on the way you use the technology. Of course, there are huge debates in terms of the ethical issues that are associated, and anything could be handled with what you can say bad hands, but could also benefit in terms of helping with the big data, as Eduard said, can also help understand how can reduce waste and try to have more protection of the environment. Can understand what exactly, where exactly the tourists are, for instance, and eventually help to promote, to direct them to other places eventually, or can point out or contribute to point out some issues in terms of facilities and other aspects that you can face in a certain place. But at the same time, could also be what you can say, not human. Could also be when you are using these kind of platforms in a negative way, could come inside to our intimate knowledge, and of course use in a bad way. But that's why it's important to also to trace some ethical issues associated with use of the shared such platforms, but turn on this situation and try to contribute to benefit both the tourists and the habitants. That's a huge discussion you have around this point, because can, as all of us know, use and extract all the knowledge associated to the tourists and the habitants of the places, not only the socio-demographics, but can predict somehow the trends. But this can be beneficial for the management of the tourism in those locals, to understand what kind of facilities they can improve to receive them in the best way as possible. So you have the two faces of the coin all the time with all kind of technologies.
Absolutely.
But
I think a lot of
eventually
my
others could also.
a lot of my research is showing that what we're doing is that we're moving away from technology being something separate to something that we use all the time. So the tourists will be using it as they are traveling, and that will increase their experience on a whole range of things. But of course, it will be a different thing. And of course, a lot of the researchers are thinking as digital immigrants. You know, they think of their own experience, but especially the young guys, they're coming up, they're digital natives, so they are doing everything with technology. So it will enhance their experience on a whole range of different things. And the areas of XR and metaverse and augmented reality, especially with Sandra is specializing, and I've done a lot of research on this, will enable people to see photorealistic and real experience before they go to the destination, select the right one, and move around and do different things. So let's see if we can hear some people. Patricia, can you speak? Patricia, are you there? She cannot. Okay, let's get some of the questions.
Can you hear me now?
I can. We can. Yes.
Oh,
Okay. With the present revival of pilgrimage tourism in the UK, framed with well-being, my question actually goes to the first speaker and Dr. Daisy. The pilgrimage revival in the UK is framed with well-being, cultural heritage, and personal reflection. So, as the sector moves towards sustainable transformation, how can this deeper social and spiritual aspect of pilgrimage, especially the encounters between pilgrims and employees, be recognized and supported alongside the environmental and economic goals?
I think, hi Patricia, I think you're referring to Professor Gang Hua Chen, right? About the mental health and well-being research.
Yes, well-being.
Yeah.
He really talked about
Mm-hmm.
how tourism is affecting well-being, or how tourism can affect well-being and mental health.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Gangshua?
Uh, excuse me. So I'm sorry. So your question is?
It's basically with the revival of pilgrimage tourists, people who are
Tourism.
traveling for religion regions. Uh, how can that how can that be framed around well-being, cultural heritage, and personal reflections?
Oh,
Okay, it sounds like an exam question, right? And we, in fact, we've just published two papers on religious tourism in Tourism Review. One, uh, and it's very interesting that quite a lot of people who are writing about religion, they are writing about Muslim and Islamic religion and halal. But and I think we published one of those recently, and we published one on Christianity. I'll try to find that, and I'm just going to put that on the chat in a minute. So, Gangwa, I gave you a little bit of time to prepare the exam question.
actually, thank you. Actually, both of you mentioned the topic of religion, but actually, I'm not familiar with those religions in the Western world. In my perspective, we can see those tourist experience, or those people working in the Buddhism or Taoism in those sectors. For example, you go to a temple for mindfulness, for moderation. This can help you to recover from the mental disorders, your anxieties, or sort of things. So I think in different parts of the world, there may be different phenomena. So I think that I may need more uh, more time to think about this question, but I cannot talk about widening on different religions. Okay, thank you.
The professor in me says read the book, so read the tourism review. So I've put in chat two papers that we've just published on religion and pilgrimage.
Okay,
Thank you.
I would love to read it. Okay.
So,
Sorry, who's Gary's gonna supplement?
Daisy,
Is that you?
I've submitted already.
Okay. Yeah, but also I want to supplement that we also need to pay attention to the generations, because I'm not sure about other parts, but in China, I think this for Generation Z, there's like a group of people, like a very young people. They also love to go to the temple. Traditionally, we don't really think they will love to do those kind of activities, but actually they go to the temple to have some, detached from daily life. They have some release from the stress in the daily life. I feel that is a very interesting phenomenon, which we feel is very opposite to what we believe. Young people, they are not that committed to those religion-related activities, but actually their purposes might be different from the traditional generations. Yeah, that's what I observed. Maybe it's time to move to the next question. Um, The next one, from a theoretical perspective, how can sustainability and the transformation in tourism be better conceptualized or framed in the future research? Any volunteers?
Fei Fei, I think.
Fei Fei, please.
Oh, hello. I think this is a very good question. I think from my experience, the project we did for the green transformation, we need to consider much broadly. We need to consider like a systematic approach for all the stakeholders that could be involved, not just including tourists, but also including policymakers, including industry, and including those NGOs. So everybody, all the stakeholders need to be considered and like in the system. And also, I think we need to think not just economically, not just technologically, but also we need to think about the social, cultural, economic, and technology in a whole system. For maybe from this kind of point of view, we can consider how, in order to make a transformation to be much greener or more sustainable, and we can make an effort in trying to achieve the sustainability goals.
Well, I would
Thanks.
like to add something more. I agree with you perfectly. Don't forget the more behavioral approach. When you also incorporate the more cognitive and emotional aspects into that equation, because I completely agree with you. It needs to be a kind of a integrate framework with these different that come from these different fields and try to leverage to something new and really connected with the tourism and sustainability. That's my
Yeah, I totally agree. Yes.
Okay, following Laura, Sandra, and Fefe, so it's necessary to move away from a static view of the sustainability and to instead, for example, a continuous process of transformation. It's necessary to have a more interdisciplinary perspective, that integrate ecological economics, organizational theory, or probably more social innovation. So it's necessary to have more to transformation the view. And if we want to have a different approach in terms of that, isn't it to that's not only the sustainability, that's not only the impact mitigation, but it's a process of regeneration, that transformation, the more in terms of systematic transition from differentiated value, governance models, and technological pathways. So I think that's we must recognize the complexity of the interconnection of different, theoretic and theories, tourism theoretic, ecosystem.
Okay. May I ask something?
Please.
Actually, from my perspective, I have one comment. That is, we do need to have a more interdisciplinary perspective. For example, if you want to conceptualize tourism as a therapy, so you needed to have the recognition from scientists, from doctors in the medical science or public health, or from people from the psychology sector. So we needed to use the theories, the concepts, the methods that they use, and those tools that they recognize. So I do think that we can invite them to the tourism sector, and we learn from them. So this is the way we can make a better conceptualization in this area. So thank you.
Thank you, Ganghua.
Mm.
Any more? Shall we move to the third question? Okay. Okay, the next one is more specific, particularly to your role of associate editors. So based on submissions you have handled in tourism review, what emerging themes do you see gaining momentum in sustainable tourism research? Which areas of sustainability in tourism remain underexplored and deserve more scholarly attention? Who wants to start first? Any associate editors have handled those kind of research?
Hi again, Daisy. Okay, if you will look the recent submission that, in my perspective, okay, show growing momentum around, for example, regenerative tourism, digital sustainability, and resilience. So in the face of a crisis, and such as, for example, climate change and pandemics. So there is an also notably interested in terms of stakeholder engagement, as well as, for example, the role of artificial intelligence and big data in supporting sustainable decision making. However, I think that several areas remain under explored. So first, for my view, is the social justice dimension of sustainability, how tourism can reduce inequality and empower marginalized groups. For example, that I told you, for example, in Latin American countries, require more attention. Okay. Second, for example, the cultural sustainability in terms of especially the role of tourism and preserve, intangible, heritage in digital context is still, for example, infancy. And third, I think third research is scaling of micro level sustainable practice in terms of to systematic change. I think it's necessary, for example, that I told you before, at the beginning, for example, of the Latin countries and the view for others.
Yeah, I agree with Eduardo. I feel exactly the same. And I consider that there's a lot of articles that are emerging using technology, but is still very concerned with one component of sustainability, the environment. You need more about social sustainability. And again, I invite more research in terms of behavioral, how change the minds toward the sustainability that are those the tourists, but also habitants and also those in charge of the destinations. How change behaviors. That's my what I would like to add to what Eduard said.
Thank you, Sandra. Demetrius, as the editor-in-chief, do you have any comments about our huge amount of submission?
The problem with papers on sustainability, and I have to tell you that I'm rejecting desk rejecting most of the papers on sustainability. Why do I desk reject? Because they don't say anything new. They say effectively what they say is that we need to be sustainable. And now I've gone to another village and I've seen that there are some things that I think that they are not sustainable, and therefore we need to be sustainable. There's little on the methodology, there are little on the techniques, there are little on the innovation that bring into the marketplace where it says, look, we've looked into this, and the problem of sustainability in this particular place may be the water consumption, maybe the electricity, the energy, the food waste, and all the rest of it. And here is what we've done, and we've done it in this way to actually support the sustainability of resources and to look into a whole range of other things. The other thing is that what Sandra mentioned is that a lot of people are only looking into the environmental sustainability, but they forget communities, they forget all the other aspects. So what we need to do is we need to really engage in a much more pragmatic way, and I'll be more than happy to publish sustainability papers that they're bringing a whole range of new techniques and strategies to take things forward, and that they can be applicable in different places. Because when the legislation is very different in China, in Portugal, in Spain, in Brazil. So we really need to see what are the factors that will take us forward, and it needs to be a very realistic kind of approach.
Okay. Thank you, Demetrius. I think, yeah, something more?
Guys, we've done an hour and a half and we've got 210 people with us. I think that's amazing. Well done to all of you. Thank you for staying with us. This is the 25 minutes bell, right? We've got another 25 minutes of discussion. So if you've got questions, please bring them forward. Are you enjoying? Let's see some of the reactions. Do you enjoy the discussion so far?
You got more reaction. Oh my God.
Yay, I'd love that. Okay. No, this is I have to tell you that I'm doing that with my students when I do conversations like that, because you never know if they've gone for a coffee and they've left their machine running. But obviously there's a wonderful reaction here, so we know that what's happening. Okay, good.
Just, just only one question to to more open, Demetrius. For example, could be possible to have a big view of the tourism for the future scenario in terms of sustainability for the future. For example, in the decarbonization of the different scenarios, for example, in Asia and Europe and Latin American countries, new energy models of, for example, green air mobility. So sharing and compare what is happening in different part of the world. So it's probably a good collaboration in different, group of people and group of researchers, open a new research in terms of sustainability.
Absolutely. And what you can do on top of that um, is the multidisciplinarity. So what we see, and there's one question by Robert Rusbey Mizrahi that I'm just about to reply on the questions, which says, what about artificial intelligence can be applied to enhance climate resilience in nature-based destinations, particularly monitoring environmental risks? This is exactly the issue. It's really about bringing technology and sustainability, human resources and sustainability, bring the multidisciplinarity of all that to create real solutions. Because unless you apply all that, we don't have real solutions. So I'm just in the questions, I'm just sending you articles that we have published in the last year that is addressing all of those issues. So you can see a lot of the resources that it's on the tourism review.
So for those hands up, is that all the remaining hands, or there's no more new hands up?
Because
Any
we'd
more
like
share?
to hear more people. Ganjoa, you want to say something? Ganjoa.
Songhua?
Ganjoa.
No. Or
No, thank you.
no?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, sure. Maybe we can bring out the last
Patricia
question.
wants to
Then
do something again.
is that the new hands? Let me see. Patricia, is that you? Do you have more questions?
Yes.
Oh, please.
Yes, I so much admire I love the topic of the discussion,
Mm.
tourism and sustainable transformation. The present revival in pilgrimage tourism in the UK is framed with cultural heritage, well-being, and personal reflection, which is very good and is helping the participants. My question is, how can this be transformed and sustained? How do you think this can be sustained to help?
Sustain what
Yeah,
the pilgrimage, the
yes.
pilgrim. I think it's a huge interest of people. People are going back to religion, spirituality. They're following different patterns, and they're engaging in different activities. And I think what's going to happen is that when you bring a whole range of different perspectives together and you create communities, I think these communities will engage with the local resources and the local destinations. In that sense, we are going to see sustained activities that they're going forward. Now, whoever was sharing the screen, I think Daisy, you were sharing screen. We can
Oh,
see your we can see your files, and I don't think we need to see your files. Okay,
sorry.
that's better. It's okay. um, okay, and then you've got Victoria there as well,
And
who would like to say
yeah,
something.
Victoria Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to know, how can technology help places in the global south? Because most examples that was mentioned from a global north perspective. And yes, technology, yes, South Africa also encounters over tourism issues, but we are more of, for example, South Africa has over tourism issues, but how can technology help places like South Africa?
Victoria, there's no place with over-tourism issues. There is overcrowding, and there's not such a thing as over-tourism. I think we really need to get it out of people's mind. You know, there are people. There's concentration of people in particular areas at particular times, and this is a result of bad management, bad strategy, bad marketing. We really need to improve strategic management, marketing, planning, and all of those things using all the international kind of research in order to manage our flows and to make sure that the flows are the tourism activity that's happening is beneficial for the local community. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as far as technology, there's not a question about north and south because the tools are pretty much the same. It's really about having access to the expertise, reading the right information, the right research, and bring all the stakeholders locally together and engaging different practices. And of course, okay, geographically you can have difference between different countries because of the cultures and how they are dealing with things, and also what is the legislation that you've got. So if you're dealing with overcrowding in China, it's a very different thing than if you're dealing with overcrowding in Finland, right? Because of a whole range of things. But there's not such a thing as north and south, global north and global south. It's a matter of understanding what the research about and actually making sure that we apply the research into practice. Who else would like to take that? Fei Fei, I can see you smiling and ready to go. What do you think?
Oh, I think obviously nowadays we see a lot of submissions relating to new technology in terms of metaverse, AI, and things like that. I think we probably need to think about how that actually can influence, like was what we said, influence the environment, influence the society, and also particular things I think we need to consider is what Dimitris mentioned earlier. When we are doing, because we are based where we are, we're doing, for example, I'm doing a lot of research related in China, but because I'm from China, right? But when we are submitting to an international journal like Tourism Review, we need to think about what we take or what we learn from this particular case. So we need to look at China, but we need to kind of look over China or outside of China. I always tell my students, we look at the case, but we jump outside of the case. What can we learn? What can we take from the case, but to be applied into other countries internationally, particularly? So what are the lessons we learned from this particular case, and we can apply to other countries, other cases? I think that's important. This is the same with technology and new things. Like we said, in China, everybody is using mobile phones to pay, right? But here in the UK, we still use our debit card or credit card. So technology is very different in different countries. So I think we need to think about our case, whether the application in that particular case in your study area can be taken to be learned from other cases. That's what I want to add to. Thank you.
Thanks, Fifi. Any more before we move to the last question? Okay. So the last question we prepared is about what kind of advice would you give to young scholars who want to focus their work on sustainability and the transformation in tourism? I think we had answered this partially in our previous questions, but please feel free to have more. Anyone? Oh, Ganghua, please.
Yes, this question. I'm very interested in this question. Of course, I'm still young, right? But
Of
I want
course.
to, yeah, but I want to say something to the younger generations of tourism researchers. I want to make 3 points. According to what I have been through, right, in the past many years. The first one is we do have to raise real questions coming from the real world. In the past few years, especially as a social editor for the journal for Tourism Review, I have handled many submissions whose research questions are not from the from our real world. So I don't know what they are talking about. I mean, they may have fancy technologies, methods, but they are not talking about the real world. So we needed to go to the field, just like the anthropologists, just like geographers. We go to the field to make sure that this is a very important question that the stakeholders in a destination think important. This is the first recommendation or advice. The second one is that when we talk about uh, sustainable or any other topics in tourism, we still needed to localize, I mean, to contextualize the topic. We are talking about a sustainable development, but what is the context, the real context that we are talking about? So we needed to have operationalization. We are talking about the just the higher level. We are talking about sustainable development, but what is the localized research question that is more important? The third question, the third comment is that we yes, methods are just tools, but sometimes a better method can better solve a problem, can even to the same questions, to the same problem, a better method can do a better job. This also goes to the theories. I think better theories can inform better observations. So we do need to use, we do need to go beyond those theories. For example, I'm not criticizing those uh, theories widely used in our field, but we do need to use more theories from psychology, from medicine, from technology, from business. So these are the 3 comments or 3 recommendations, especially for those who are interested in submitting their papers to this this journal. Oh, okay, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Ganghua. Who's gonna be next? Fei Fei?
Can I add something just to Ganghua's comment earlier? I think it's very important before you do anything, before you do any research, you always ask yourself the question, what is new? What is new in your research? What is new in your paper? First, we can think about whether it's a new research question, is a new phenomenon, nobody else have ever looked at that, or is it a new research question? And then we think about our theory. Just Ganghua mentioned that we tourism scholars, we have a lot of theories borrowed from other fields, from marketing management, from sociology, from psychology, etc. So what is new? Those theories applied into our field, applied into sustainable tourism, whether they work or not, whether anything changed, the boundary conditions changed, anything changed, anything new. Therefore, we can think about what actually can we add to these theories. It's very hard for us normal people to develop our own theories. You know, we are not big names. We can't develop our own theories, particularly coming from a tourism field. I think it's very hard for us to develop new theories. Therefore, a lot of theories are borrowed from other fields. And then I think we need to think about methods. I totally agree with Ganghua. I think method is very important. In a lot of cases, I see people are combining 2 methods, using a mixed method or using multiple methods. I think that's actually a good way to think about that. Like this morning, I just saw a paper, we come from a tourism geography background. We did a lot of analysis on spatial and geospatial analysis. But this morning I saw a paper combining geospatial analysis with QCA. I think that's an important way to think about. You can always bring something new using a new theory, a new method, maybe using a mixed method, maybe using 2 or 3 different methods and things like that. So I think as a young researcher, you can always ask yourself, why can you persuade the reviewers and editors that your paper adds something to the field? Something new is what we are looking for, I think. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks,
maybe I
Vicky.
can add something more. I completely agree to go to the field to see what is going on. But before starting to develop a research question, I really recommend to put together what you get from the field, from the destination, the local place, with what others are doing in terms of the same topic in the scientific articles, and try to see, well, is something that somehow have been already start to give some answer to what I found in the field, or is exactly something new? Because with that, combining the field with what you get from the other papers, scientific papers, you can write in the introduction of the paper to say, based on what is possible to see in the field, the phenomena, we found this and that. Based on the research, this and this, you can find this. So we have something new that nor the phenomenon of the destination or what have been published could answer. So we really prove that you have a new research question. Because if you go only to the field or only to the scientific papers, maybe sometimes there's some aspects that already been or trying to be solved, that if you go only to the field, you don't know it. So it's important to combine both what you get from the field, from the what you observe around, and what you have at exactly the same issue, the same phenomenon that has already been published. A second point that I would like to take into consideration is the using or multi-methods or a kind of a mixed approach. Most of the time, the papers mention they use mixed approach, but it's not a mixed approach, it's multi-methods. Because not only young researchers, the senior researchers, are trying to seduce the editors just to put a set of studies. But how those studies are combined? Why you need those studies? And these more and more need to be explained later on in the paper, in the section about methodology. Sometimes to do a good research, you need to start with a method, eventually more exploratory method, but only after finalize that first phase, that first part, you decide what next is important to do, and not have an initial plan with a set of different studies, set of different methods. Because when we're doing the research, doing that process, eventually you find that the second step, the second study is not necessary anymore. And eventually it's better to use another method based on the findings that you get on the first stage, on the first study. And this is quite important. Otherwise, the papers, we start to read the papers as reviewers, as editors, associate editors, and we see that it's just a set of different studies, a lot of studies, but they do not exactly combine do not serve, do not complement, and it's difficult to find how it is this really complement. That's my two recommendations.
Thank you, Sandra. Any more? Adiado or Demetrius want to supplement?
I think Eduardo goes first, and then I'll conclude because there are 5 minutes left, and we're
Yes,
just,
yes.
just 1 minute, just 1 minute. It's really very, very, very important to have, and following you, my colleagues, to have a critical thinking. If we don't have a very critical thinking, for example, when you write on a paper, at the end of the paper, talking about, for example, I told you before, the social implication, to discuss the social implication of this paper. So probably you will have with problem with the associate editors and an editor-in-chief in 10 out, probably they will review the papers. Another thing that's following, for example, the discussion about the sustainability, is necessary to explore, alternative future of the sustainability in terms of tourism. For example, more explore, holistic impact of sustainability, how we can integrate, for example, eco certification, how we, for example, I told you before, the community. So it's really, really, really very important. And for example, talking about the digitalization, explore the digitalization with propose how the digitalization, for example, in terms of data ethics, artificial intelligence for regeneration of the tourism, or for example, the inclusive tourism. So thinking about that is in a position in terms of critical thinking, and always engage with practice, please. I am really, really tired to read paper that's not engaged with the practice. So engage the paper with the practice. That's enough.
That's fantastic, and it actually gives me a great opportunity to take the last 3 minutes to say thank you to all of you. And we've done it, Gary, again. I don't know how you do it. There's a last-minute thing, and with our Emerald colleagues in Malaysia, they put everything together. I can see for the reactions that people loved it. I can see that there are still 200 people are still on 2 hours later. They haven't moved and they're still there. So they've learned quite a lot. Thank you goes to Tete for organizing us all, to Gary for managing, and for Daisy for chairing that, and then Gangua, Eduardo, Feifei, and Sandra for being great panelists. I think we're all going the same direction. The same direction is to make tourism better, more sustainable, more beneficial for communities around the world, manage the different impacts, make sure that we engage in a conversation to support our communities using the tourism activity, and making a lot of people happy in our communities. I'd like to thank you all. My understanding from William is that the recording will be available. You can actually use it for your teaching. You can give that to your students to see at their own time, or you can play that in beats on your classes. I've already replied to several people giving you the latest papers that we've published in Tourism Review. So it's really critical to engage with the latest publications and the latest research that's coming out. Really, if you want to increase your possibility that your paper is accepted, look at the latest conversation. I'm really surprised how many people are submitting to Tourism Review without reading the latest research. And that is one of the critical things. I repeat that Tourism Review is going to receive this year more than 1,500 papers. I think last night I looked to paper 1,150. The amount of work that generates is enormous, and we need to manage all that. And we're trying to manage everything very efficiently. We're trying to provide feedback. If the paper is not rejected, we're trying to provide feedback with 30 days to 45 days. It's unusual that we take more than 45 days. And I think this is a phenomenal achievement that's attributed to all our associate editors, the editors and the reviewers. make sure that if you are not a reviewer, make sure that you become a reviewer as well. You're part of the community. So with this final thoughts, I wish you all happy World Tourism Day tomorrow. I'm very glad that we did that today, and we got the best conversation ever. The fact that you're still here, it's a huge testament to that. And I really thank all of you for participating and engaging. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And
Bye-bye.
thank you to William in particular for being at the back
Oh,
of
yes.
that, dealing
Thanks,
with the
William.
difficult system
Not at all.
and
Not at all.
helping
Thank
us.
you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.